I personally think Americans are going to fight pretty hard to sustain the unsustainable way of life that we've evolved into in this country, to this drive-in utopia of easy motoring and infotainment and perpetual leisure and suburban living. Americans in some parts of the country may turn to extremist politicians to keep things going, even though they won't be able to. But there will be appeals made to them on that basis, I think. However, I'd have to add another layer of this, that I was a young newspaper reporter during the OPEC oil embargo of 1973, and that was a pretty severe shock to the American public. And the fact is, they did show an amazing amount of resilience once that problem really got a grip on us. We saw things in 1973 that would be quite unimaginable today, like Americans agreeing to a 55-mile-per-hour speed limit all over the country. You know, there wasn't a peep of protest about it. It was just agreed to because the problem was understood to be so severe. Americans made tremendous strides in the first stages of energy conservation during those years of the 70s. We know more now than we did 20 years ago about how to design and retrofit places so that they can be walkable communities. It may be problematical how we're going to feed ourselves as we do that, but there's just simply no question that we're going to have to alter the way we live. The bigger cities in America will probably suffer. They're going to have to enter a period of contraction that is liable to be painful and probably also disorderly. The great cities of America were pretty much products of the industrial story. And when that industrial story based on fossil fuels comes to its end, those industrial cities are not going to be what they once were. Many of them aren't anyway. And for New York and Chicago in particular, I think it's going to be very, very painful because they are going to have a problem with very large buildings. They have too many of them. There really is kind of an optimal urban scale, and it's not 50 stories. If we want to keep the lights running, we're probably going to have to build more nuclear plants, and that's something I think is subject to a great deal of debate. If we were, a mature and intelligent and adult public, we'd probably be having that discussion now, but we're not. You know, the hysteria among the environmental community about nuclear power is pretty intense. It takes quite a long time to get even a single nuclear plant up and running, as much as 10 years under optimum circumstances. So even under the best conditions, we could well go through a period of trouble and hardship before we got even some relief from the nuclear industry. We're not going to gear up the factories of the 1950s all over again, when we stopped getting stuff from China. We're going to do things differently. It may mean we have to do things on a much smaller basis, and I think that probably will happen. Personally, I believe that the American economy 30 or 40 years from now will actually center on food production and agriculture and the activities related to it and to keeping it going. I think that there could be a lot of things that we will recover that have to do with our humanity in a world like that, but I wouldn't be too sentimental about it. There are going to be a lot of drawbacks. A lot of things that we're used to may not be there anymore. We may have a far shorter life expectancy, less access to really good medicine. We may have to enter into social relations that would seem anachronistic to us. The spooky part of all this comes when you really try to project beyond a generation or two and try to think about what the world might be like when there really isn't any oil left and our choices really have been foreclosed and we really have been compelled to live differently. And what will that world look like? I have no idea. We've already lost a great deal of vernacular knowledge in how to live at the local level, how to do local agriculture. There have been some of this knowledge has been concentrated in small groups of people who have been maintaining it for us, luckily, like the organic farmers. These are complex issues, but they're not so complicated that we can't understand them. We just have a tremendous investment in not understanding them and maintaining a kind of a wall of denial about it. We've already talked about why the public doesn't want to think too much about changing how it lives. These things are true even among the educated classes of Americans. The lady up the street has a sign in her lawn that says, "War is not the answer." And she's got, 2 or 3 cars parked in the driveway. And I'm thinking, well, hello, if this is how you want to live, then war is the answer. Get used to it. I wouldn't cultivate any huge expectation that the public was going to understand this soon. I think, we will go through some kind of a convulsion. We will come out of it in some way, and we're going to be a very different America when we do.